All right. See if we're getting some audio here. Yeah, hear myself click. It's a good start. See if we're getting some audio here. It's my voice. That's hear myself click. Unfortunate, but here we go. It's a good start. See if we're getting some audio here. It's my voice. That's hear myself click. Unfortunate, but here we go. It's a good start. Not getting that loop shit. Nope, nope, nope. Okay. Nice. Good. Got chat going. We're in live chat mode. Yeah, that stream. Thank you. Cool, cool. Okay, yeah, I guess that's fine. We'll see if the hopefully the AI voice crap won't be too loud. But anyway, so reason I'm doing this is I got kind of caught out by an uncle on the internet. I shared a post where this girl said, this woman, she said something like, Project 2025 has instructed officials to use programs like Signal to obfuscate communications for later. Now, I watched this video, and it's Project 2025. Let me get the title of that real quick. It was one of the leaked training videos leaked by ProPublica, and here, let's see. Project 2025 retention policy training.
Taxpayers paying you to
Oversight and investigations. Project 2025. I'll share that in the I guess I'll drop that in the chat here. Probably most people won't be interested in this stream. I don't know if I would be interested. All right, here you go. But I thought it might be cool to just do like a play-by-play. I'm gonna do it at like 1.5 speed though, because this shit's 900 pages long. I want to get through this, but I want to like try to get it, but I don't want to like fall asleep. So video games and live stream, and maybe some people will drop in and be like, what's going on with this? And maybe we can all learn a thing or two. Just pay attention to what the people are actually saying. All right, anyway, okay. So I guess without further ado, oh hey, what's up, Nell? Oh my God, how's it going? Nice to see you. So I know Nell from the Mercado Gaming / Media Network. It's nice to see you. So well, yeah, what I'm doing here is I'm gonna actually like audiobook the whole fucking Project 2025 manual, and try and crank it out like 1.5 speed, maybe faster. We'll see, but I'm tired of people telling me like it's no big deal. There's nothing bad in there. It's all like super duper, and then other people being like it's a calamity and shit. It's like I want to know for real. And I am obviously biased. Yeah, I know. It's gonna be rough.
America's bicentennial, which culminated on July 4th, 1976, was a spirited and unifying celebration. America's bicentennial, which culminated on...
Sounds so loud to me. Kind of made me throw up a little bit. Crank that volume down a bunch. And yeah, that speed was like, oof. I'm a little bit too stoned right now.
On July 4th, 1976, was a spirited and unifying celebration of our country, its founding, and its ideals. As we approach our nation's 250th anniversary, which will take place during the next presidency, America is now divided between two opposing forces, woke revolutionaries and those who believe in the ideals of the American Revolution. The former believe that America is, and always has been, systemically racist, and that it is not worth celebrating and must be fundamentally transformed, largely through a centralized administrative state. The latter believe in America's history and heroes, its principles and promise, and in everyday Americans and the American way of life. They believe in the Constitution and Republican government. Conservatives...
Wait, hold on. The Constitution and the Republican government? What? What is this bait and switch shit? Like, this is straight up just like fucking, this is some red flag waving, like right out of the gate. Conservatives, the Americanists in this battle, must fight for the soul of America. Jesus, what a professional fucking document we're reading right now. Oh my God. Just 2 years after the death of the last... I don't know if I don't know if I'm going to make it through this. This is vomitous. I'm going to have to, like, figure... Maybe I should drink instead of smoking pot. I don't know.
The death of the last surviving Constitutional Convention delegate, James Madison. Abraham Lincoln warned that the greatest threat to America would come not from without, but from within. This is evident today.
Okay. 2 years after. Okay, I don't know what that has to do anything. Oh my God, I can't. I don't think it's possible at any speed to analyze this. Abraham Lincoln warned that the greatest threat to America would come not from without, but from within. All right, okay. This is evident today. But like, you're begging the question of where it comes from. I mean, oh God, this is gonna be a slog. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, turn it into a drinking game. Oh my God. Like, the bingo card would have to be like 6-dimensional. Be like a Tesseract bingo. Fuck.
Whether it be mask and vaccine mandates, school and business closures, efforts to keep Americans from driving gas cars or using gas stoves, or efforts to defund the police, indoctrinate schoolchildren, alter beloved books, abridge free speech, undermine the colorblind ideal, or deny the biological reality that there are only two sexes, the left's steady stream of insanity appears to be never-ending. The next administration must stand up for American ideals, American families, and American culture,
I'm gonna need a stronger
all
stomach
things
in
in
this.
which, thankfully, most Americans still believe. Highlighting this need, former director of the Office of Management and Budget, Russ Vaught,
I
writes
got
in Chapter
discharged
2,
before I
the
went to my
modern conservative
submarine.
president's task is to...
So I was like kind of getting ready to be the person who hears all the people drowning and shit. I was like, all right, I think I can fucking, I think I can do this. Like, I'm gonna be the only one, like, on the whole boat who, like, hears the people crying for their moms and shit while the stuff's burning around them. I'm like, all right, I think I can do this for, a few times if I have to. But this right here, I don't know, dude. Holy shit. This is rough. Okay, sorry.
Highlighting this need, former director of the Office of Management and Budget, Russ Vaught, writes in Chapter 2, the modern conservative president's task is to limit, control, and direct the executive branch on behalf of the American people. At the core of this goal is the work of the White House and the central personnel agencies. Article 2 of the Constitution vests all federal executive power in a president, made accountable to the citizenry through regular elections. Our founders wrote, the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. Accordingly, Vaught writes, it is the president's agenda that should matter to the departments and agencies, not their own. Yet the federal bureaucracy has a mind of its own. Federal employees are often ideologically aligned, not with the majority of the American people, but
Hold
with one
on, hold
another,
on, hold on,
posing a
hold on,
profound.
hold on. This is a very this is an interesting claim here. Federal employees are often ideologically aligned with one another and screw politics. This is a problem because there's resistance to swinging really hard in either direction. Oh no. Wah. What are you fucking talking about here?
Problem for Republican government, a government of, by, and for the people. As Donald Devine, Dennis Kirk, and Paul Dans write in chapter, an autonomous bureaucracy has neither independent constitutional status nor separate moral legitimacy. Byzantine personnel rules provide the bureaucrats with their chief means of self-protection. What's more, knowledge of such rules is used to thwart the president's appointees and agenda. As Devine, Kirk, and Dans write, managing the immense bureaucracy of the federal government is impossible without an understanding of the key central personnel agencies and their governing laws and regulations. Many of these laws and regulations governing a largely underworked, overcompensated, and unaccountable federal civilian workforce are so irrational that they would be comical in a less important context. This is true whether it comes to evaluating employees' performance or hiring new employees. Only in the federal government could an applicant in the hiring process be sent to the front of the line because of a history of drug addiction or alcoholism, or due to morbid obesity, irritable bowel syndrome, or a psychiatric disorder. The next administration should insist that the federal government's hiring, evaluation, retention, and compensation practices benefit taxpayers, rather than benefiting the lowest rung of the federal workforce. In order to carry...
I think the implication here is that what they're doing is they're picking up crackheads and putting them in like veterans doctors' offices and stuff. Like what am I supposed to be imagining is happening here? Do we want to make sure that people who like had an issue with addiction, which let's be real, we got different drugs, right? Some of these things are things that are beyond your control and give you a lot of trouble. Some people with irritable bowel syndrome, they have to shit a lot, so it's like kind of hard to keep a job because your boss is like, man, that motherfucker is always in the bathroom. It's just a struggle for some people, so I've heard. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. A lot of assumptions. It seems like they're. Let's see. Whew. All right, how far are we in? Oh God. All right, we're at 53 now.
Carry out the president's desires, political appointees must be given the tools, knowledge, and support to overcome the federal government's obstructionist human resources departments. More fundamentally, the new administration must fill its ranks with political appointees.
I don't know if I'm playing
Devine, Kirk,
video games.
and Dans observed that the Trump administration appointed fewer political appointees in its first few months in office than any other recent presidency. This left career employees in charge in many places. This can occur even after departments have been fully staffed with political appointees. Vaught writes that the White House Office of Management and Budget should establish a reputation as the keeper of commander's intent. Yet OMB is dominated by career employees who often try to overrule political appointees serving in the various executive departments.
Career employees are in charge in many places. So this whole document is about taking political control over every institution. Put political control over institutions. The purpose of these institutions, as poorly or as well as they've been performing over the last 50 years while they've been getting hit with fucking political wrecking balls. Psychiatric. Oh my God, how are they gonna call my IVS peeps like that? I knew it. I like how they put psychiatric disorder in quotes. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's yeah, that's. I actually, it's funny because I thought that. So I grew up in Texas, like South Texas, Southwest Texas, Southeast Texas, and even though I was kind of a nerd, I still and I gave up my religion when I was like 16, 17. I still thought that like psychiatry was fake, meditation was like, I don't know, weird hippy dippy bullshit. I thought that like therapy was a scam and all this stuff, and it wasn't until like I was getting discharged. Actually, I got disqualified from submarine service over a skin condition. I had several obstacles that I probably shouldn't talk about, that I really had to push through. Uh, uh, and it kind of fucking broke me when they kicked me out of submarines. They were like, "You can still go to a ship," and I was like, "I don't know." They were like, "All right, think about it." I said, "Okay." So I'm like fucking crying on base and shit, and they finally put me in front of the psychiatrist, and he was like, we had a couple of quick conversations, and he was like, "Dude, you've got kind of classic cases of this and this and this and this going on. You should probably head out." And I said, "Okay." So here we are. I made it all the way through submarine school, most of the way through sonar tech school. I was just crushed because I wanted to be Jonesy from fucking Hunt for Red October. It was Paganini, not Pavarotti. Anyway, my stupid military story. I was 30 when I was 30 when I graduated boot camp. I turned 30 in boot camp, I think, or maybe it was basic sub school. Anyway, yeah. So they all call me Paw Paw. Anyway, yeah. So here we go.
Empowering political appointees across the administration is crucial to a president's success. Above all, the president and those who serve under him or her must be committed to the Constitution and the rule of law.
Yes.
This is particularly true of a conservative administration, which knows that the president is there
Okay.
to uphold the Constitution.
Look, I'm going to preload you with a little information on here. I have seen some of the training videos. All right. When they say the Constitution here, they do not think that the Bill of Rights, the amendments, they do not think that this is part of the Constitution. I swear to fucking God, I have seen the video with my own eyes. I'll be covering the videos. If I can't make it through this, or if I finish, I'm gonna review some of the videos. But check out their release. They were released by they were leaked to ProPublica. They're all on YouTube. There's a whole shitload of them.
Not the other way around. If a conservative administration does not respect the Constitution, no administration will. In chapter, former Deputy Chief of Staff to the President Rick Dearborn writes that the White House Counsel must take seriously the duty to protect the powers and privileges of the President from encroachments by Congress, the judiciary, and the administrative components of departments and agencies. Equally important, the President must enforce the Constitution and laws as written, rather than proclaiming new law unilaterally. Presidents should not issue mask or vaccine mandates, arbitrarily transfer student loan debt, or issue monarchical mandates of any sort. Legislatures make the laws in a republic, not executives.
This is culture
war. It is
war.
crucial that all three branches of the federal government respect what Madison called the
Wedge
double
issues.
security to our liberties, the separation of powers among the three branches,
touch my
and the
wedge
separation
issues.
of powers between the federal government and the states. This double security has been greatly compromised over the years. Vaught writes that the modern executive branch writes federal policy, enforces that policy, and often adjudicates whether that policy was properly drafted and enforced. He describes this as constitutionally dire and in urgent need of repair, adding, "Nothing less than the survival of self-governance in America is at stake. When it comes to ensuring that freedom can flourish."
All right. It is crucial that all three branches of federal government respect what Madison called the double security to the separation of powers among the three branches, the separation between the federal government and the Okay, so this is just a partisan opinion right here. And, yeah, nobody wants a giant government trampling everybody's rights. And that's the irony here is that's exactly what's happening. You've got, you've got these immigration policies that the states are not allowed to decide for themselves. You've got, what's his name? That fucking immigration dude. God dang it! I'm such an idiot with this stuff. I know like the basic things that are going on. I can never remember all the people, but he uh, he was talking about like sending using triggering state military like reserve military shit I forget what you call them, National Guard people uh, in a state to enforce any immigration uh, commands that are not executed as given by the executive branch. I think is what it was. So it's like kind of hints to like little Civil Warish kind of goodies there. I don't know. I hate to jump into all that crap, but it just seems like a recipe for potential conflicts of interest between people in their own state deciding what they want to do with their immigrants. Which some states this could be an absolute disaster, and some states contribute a great amount to the GDP, which is also trying to be crushed from the top. And these states that aren't allowed to make their own determinations about these things are not going to contribute to the wealth of the lower GDP states. I don't know. Just, it's kind of backwards.
Nothing is more important than deconstructing the centralized administrative state. Political appointees who are answerable to the president and have decision-making authority in the executive branch are key to this essential task. The next administration must not cede such authority to nonpartisan experts who pursue their own ends while engaging in groupthink, insulated from American voters. The following chapters detail how the next administration can be responsive to the American people, how it can take care that all the laws are faithfully executed, not merely those that the president desires to see executed, and how it can achieve results and not be stymied by an unelected bureaucracy. White House Office Rick Dearborn. From popular culture to academia, the American presidency has long been a prominent fixture of the national imagination, naturally so since it is the beating heart of our nation's power and prestige. It has played, for instance, a feature role in innumerable movies and television shows, and has been prodded, analyzed, and critiqued by countless books, essays, and studies. But like nearly everything else in life, there is no substitute for first-hand experience, which this manual has compiled from the experience of presidential appointees and provides in accessible form for future use. With respect to the presidency, it is best to begin with our republic's foundational document. The Constitution gives the executive power to the president. It designates him as commander-in-chief and gives him the responsibility to take care that the laws be faithfully executed. It further prescribes that the president might seek the assistance of the principal officer in each of the executive departments. Beginning with George Washington, every president has been supported by some form of White House office consisting of direct staff officers as well as a cabinet comprised of department and agency heads. Since the inaugural administration of the late 18th century, citizens have chosen to devote both their time and their talent to defending and strengthening our nation by serving at the pleasure of the president. Their shared patriotic endeavor has proven to be a noble one, not least because the jobs in what is now known as the White House office are among the most demanding in all of government. The president must rely on the men and women appointed to the WHO.
So just to put this in perspective, this is a document that concerns all levels of government, all branches, whatever. The people who are incoming. I'm pretty sure this document is for all levels of government. What is with the nobility of the one highest position? Like, why are we spending so much time talking about that? Like, ugh. Fucking gross. Oh my god, this is page 56. I don't think I'm going to make it. Oh my god. There's just too much to address. I got to figure out how to filter out, like, what's the level of bullshit that I'm just going to let. Like, and that's the crazy thing, is that's kind of the standard now.
There simply are not enough hours in the day to manage the affairs of states single-handedly. So delegation is not just advisable, it is essential. The decisions that assistants and senior advisors make will directly impact the administration, its legacy, and, most important, the fate of the country.
Yeah.
Their agenda must therefore be the president's
Yeah,
agenda.
there you go. I'll just
Choosing
talk
who will
over
carry
it.
out that agenda on a daily basis is not only
There
one
we
of the
go.
first decisions a
That's it.
president makes in office, but also one of the most critical. The tone and
Thank
tempo
you.
of an administration are often determined on January 20th, Chief of Staff. As with most of the positions that will be covered in this first chapter, the Chief of Staff is also an assistant to the President. However, the Chief is truly first among equals. Of all presidential staff members, the Chief is the most critical to implementation of the President's vision for the country. The Chief also has a dual role as manager of the staffs of both the WHO and the Executive Office of the President. The Chief of Staff's first managerial task is to establish an organizational chart for the WHO. It should be simple and contain clear lines of authority and responsibility to avoid conflicts. It should also identify specific points of contact for each element of the government outside of the White House. These contacts should include the White House liaisons who are selected by the Office of Presidential Personnel. Receiving guidance from the President, the Chief endeavors to implement the President's agenda by setting priorities for the WHO. This process begins by taking stock of the President.
Wait. Hold on. Oh my god. Is it like, has it always been, is this true?
As with most of the positions that will be
WHO setting priorities for the WHO, has the US president typically, I don't know, been directed by the president? And I might have to drop this into ChatGPT or something, maybe. I don't know. No. Oh, wait, what? Okay, never mind. No, it has the U.S. No, not the U.S. president. God damn it. U.S. WHO. Wait. WHO. Is that World Health Organization? Wait,
The Chief also has a dual role as manager of the staffs of both the Chief also has a dual role as manager.
Tell me what the WHO is. World Health Organization? White House office. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. What the fuck? The White House office, not the World Health Organization. Yeah, that was a serious what the fuck, right? Wow, I was looking at the wrong screen for a little too long there. Oh, Jesus. All right.
Receiving guidance from the President, the Chief endeavors to implement the President's agenda by setting priorities for the WHO. This process begins by taking stock of the President's campaign promises, identifying current and prospective opportunities, and then delegating policy priorities among the departments and agencies of the Cabinet and throughout the 3 White House Policy Councils: L, the National Economic Council; L, the Domestic Policy Council; and L, the National Security Council. The President is briefed on all of his policy priorities by his cabinet and senior staff as directed by the Chief. The Chief, along with senior WHO staff, maps out the issues and themes that will be covered daily and weekly. The Chief then works with the policy councils, the Cabinet, and the Office of Communications and Office of Legislative Affairs to sequence and execute the rollout of policies and announcements. White House counsel and senior advisors and senior counselors are also intimately involved. All senior staff report to the Chief of Staff, either directly or through his 2 or 3 deputies. Unless the President determines that a particular assistant to the President reports directly to him. Most chiefs have interacted directly with cabinet officers and a select number of direct reports. In most cases, the direct reports to the chief are his 2 or 3 deputies,
Yeah, it
the
is kind of
communications director,
the
PPO
WHO
director,
is also kind
White
of
House
that.
counsel, and senior advisors. Occasionally, the Office of Public Liaison, the Cabinet Secretary, and Intergovernmental Affairs also report directly to the chief. Usually, however, they
Kanuko was
report instead to a
incredulous.
Deputy Chief of Staff. The Chief of Staff's main challenge is time management.
I was going
His
to look
use of
that
his
shit up
deputies,
too.
meetings with senior staff, and direction provided to the WHO must all balance with the daily needs of the president. A successful chief steers the West Wing using his management of and influence with the various individuals and entities around him. It goes without saying that selecting the right person to be chief is vital. Deputy Chiefs of Staff. In recent years, presidents typically have appointed 2 Deputy Chiefs of Staff, a Deputy Chief of Staff for Management and Operations, and a Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy.
Okay, so
There
this is
also
good.
have been other
Gonna have
types
some
of deputy
boilerplate
chiefs
stuff for a
whose
little
roles
bit,
have
looks
included,
like.
for example, overseeing strategy, planning, and
Pirate
implementation.
Kanuko.
Chiefs of Staff have then occasionally
gonna
appointed
try
a
a pirate
principal
run.
deputy chief to be in charge of guiding decision-making, organizational structure, and information flow. Principal Deputy Chiefs of Staff. Not all Chiefs of Staff have tapped a principal
friendly with the
deputy.
Red
A
Skulls.
major reason is that doing so adds another layer of command complexity.
There's a
When
part there.
principal
Uh-oh.
deputies have been installed, their roles
He's a
have
good-
varied
good
based
guy.
on the needs of particular chiefs. Most principal deputies have functioned as doorkeepers, sorting through action items, taking on those that can be handled at their own level, and passing up others that truly require the attention of the Chief of Staff or the President. Principal deputies also have assumed control of the scheduling
Oh, no.
functions,
No, no, no,
normally
no,
under
no,
the
no, no.
operations
Okay,
deputy,
all right.
and have worked directly
Oh,
with
that
the
was not
policy
smart.
councils at the direction of the Chief of Staff. The OPL and Office of Political Affairs also have reported to a principal deputy, Deputy Chief of Staff for Management and Operations. The Deputy
No
Chief of
equipment
Staff
yet.
for Management and Operations oversees the president's schedule and all logistical aspects of his movement within and outside of the White House. This deputy also interfaces directly with the Secret Service, as well as the military offices tasked with keeping the president and his family safe. In the past, this deputy has also worked with the NSC, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, and the intelligence community, and on advancing all foreign trips. If their roles are separated from that of the policy deputy, this deputy should have a strong grasp of international
Yeah.
affairs and robust foreign policy credentials. This
Exciting,
deputy further manages all
chain of
facets of
command
the working
stuff.
White
It's
House,
the best.
technology, grounds management, support staff, personnel administration, and communications. This individual therefore needs to
Oh,
be
I can
meticulous,
stealth.
and
Oh,
ideally
shit.
should possess a great deal of command and control experience. Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. In some administrations,
that?
the functions of the
It's
IGA,
activated.
OPA, and OPL and other advisors within the WHO have fallen under the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. For conservatives, this
Combat.
arrangement could help to connect
yeah.
the WHO's outreach to
Speed.
political and external groups and be a strong
Damage.
conduit for state and local elected officials, state party organizations, and both grasstop and grassroots groups. This deputy chief works directly with the Chief of Staff, cabinet officers, and all 3 policy councils to support the development and implementation of the president's agenda. This deputy chief should therefore have impressive policy credentials in the realms of economic, domestic, and social affairs.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. All right. Let's see what we're talking about here. Okay. All right. Have a good night, Noah. Hey, I really appreciate you coming by. Thank you. I'll see you later in Mercado chat. All right. This deputy chief works directly with the chief of staff, cabinet officers, all 3 party councils to support the development and implementation of the president's agenda. This deputy chief should therefore have impressive policy credentials in the realms of economic, domestic, and social affairs. Alrighty, guys. Which deputy chief was this? Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. Alright. Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. Okay. Can y'all see that? Shit. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah, y'all can see it. Oh, well, mostly. Anyway, alright, cool. Get my little OBS window down. Okay, cool. Alright, Deputy Chief. Okay, White House Deputy Chief of Staff. There are 6. Policy. Stephen fucking Miller is The man. He is the guy. This is the guy. My last name is Miller. I am not related to this slimy motherfucker. This lying fucking piece of shit. Well, okay. I should probably tone it down a little bit. Alright. Anyway. Man, that guy's a real slime bag. Impressive policy credentials in the realms of economic, domestic, and social affairs. Alright, so let's open up the old chat GPT. GPT.com. Alrighty. Okie dokie. Let's make a whole ass. Let's see. Do I make a new persona for you? I want you to be perceptive, honest, and clear. And disregard any of my biases with this, what is it? Persona. Wants to ask you for a lot of evidence. Alright, alright, I'm gonna be lazy. Sorry, guys. I should be smarter. I'm getting stupider. I'm on the way out, guys. These videos are a journal of my last year's. Cool. And is there a guy with a knife behind me? Fuck. All right, cool. First question or topic. All right. What are Stephen Miller's... Wait, which... Stephen... Ooh. 3 most impressive credentials in the realms of economic affairs. He was okay. His having the same, essentially, it looks like a similar job in 2016. Okay, all right, okay. So the 3 most impressive credentials he has are the ones that he has had with Trump. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Let's get the best 3 that are not related to Donald Trump. Please. Press Secretary for Michelle Bachmann. Communication strategies. Not directly related to economic policy. Not very directly. That's number 1. Press Secretary for John Shadegg. He served as press secretary. Communications director for Jeff Sessions. Good old Jeff Sessions. Wow. So these are Stephen Miller's impressive economic credentials. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna be a lifelong analysis. if I get into the details. All right, now. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, dude. Senior advisors who are okay.
Presidents have
Just
surrounded
continue.
themselves with senior advisors whose experience and interests are not necessarily neatly defined. In recent administrations, senior advisors have been appointed to offer broad guidance on political matters and communications issues. Others have acted as czars for specific projects or policy areas. The most powerful senior advisors frequently have had a long personal relationship with the president and often have spent a significant amount of time with him within and outside of the White House. They have been asked not only to provide guidance on a variety of policy issues, but also to offer instruction on communicating with the American people and the media. In a number of administrations, new offices or councils have been created to support senior advisors. For the most part, their functions have been duplicative or overlapping, as a result of which these offices have tended to be short-lived. Even so, senior advisors should be provided the staff and resources that their portfolios require. To ensure that senior advisors are effective, their portfolios must be clearly delineated and clearly communicated across the White House. This too is a responsibility of the Chief of Staff, Office of White House Counsel. The Office of White House Counsel provides legal guidance to the President and elements of the EOP on a host of issues, including presidential powers and privileges, ethics compliance, review of clemency applications, and judicial nominations. The selection of White House counsel is one of the most important decisions an incoming president will make. The office is not designed to create or advance policies on its own initiative, nor should it do so. Rather, it is dedicated to guiding the president and his reports on how to pursue and realize the president's agenda, while the White House counsel...
Okay. All right. So this is kind of an interesting thing here. This is where Project 2025 actually has a decent point here that the current administration has departed from a number of things from Project 2025. One of those things is retention policy, and the training videos specifically mention Signal as something not to use. Now, they do say to avoid a paper trail, have conversations with people before you don't just have conversations over email about stuff where you're just throwing ideas around or whatever, because the Democrats will witch hunt you or whatever. And that's a gray area, I would say personally. I'd say it kind of depends what we're talking about. If we're like making racist jokes, then yeah, I'd probably leave that shit off the books. You know what I mean? Maybe even just don't do it, but baby steps. All right, anyway, let's go.
Does not serve as the president's personal attorney in non-official matters. It is almost impossible to delineate exactly where an issue is strictly personal and has no bearing on the president's official function. The White House counsel needs to be deeply committed both to the president's agenda and to affording the president proactive counsel and zealous representation. That individual directly advises the president as he performs the duties of the office, and this requires a relationship that is built on trust, confidentiality, and candor. The Office of White House Counsel is also responsible for ensuring that each component of the White House adheres to all applicable legal and ethical guidelines, which often requires ongoing training and monitoring to ensure compliance. This means ensuring that White House staff regularly consult with office attorneys on required financial disclosures, received gifts, potential conflicts of interest, and other ethical concerns. The Office of White House Counsel is the first line of defense for the EOP. Its staff must take seriously the duty to protect the powers and privileges of the president from encroachments by Congress, the judiciary, and the administrative components of departments and agencies. In addition to the White House Counsel, the office includes deputies, assistants, associates, and legal support staff. The assistant and associate attorneys are often specialists in particular areas of the law and offer guidance to the EOP on issues related to national security, criminal law, environmental law, and a host of administrative and regulatory matters. Attorneys working in the Office of White House Counsel serve as legal advisors to the White House policy operation by reviewing executive orders, agency regulations, and other policy-related functions. Here again, subordinates should be deeply committed to the president's agenda and see their role as helping to accomplish the agenda through problem-solving and advocacy. They should not erect roadblocks out of an abundance of caution. Rather, they should offer practical legal advice on how to promote the president's agenda within the bounds of the law. The White House counsel's office cannot serve as a finishing school to credential the next set of white shoe law firm attorneys or federal judges in waiting who cabin their opinions for fear their elite credentials could be tarnished through a policy disagreement. Rather, it should function more as an activist yet ethical plaintiff's firm that advocates for its clients.
Hold on. They're saying it out loud. They're saying it out loud right here. They hate activism. They hate it on the left. Activists are scum. They should be nowhere near government. Tell me I'm not crazy. Tell me that I haven't been hearing this all these years. Activist yet ethical. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too much.
The administration's agenda within the limits imposed by the Constitution and the duties of the legal profession. The Office of White House Counsel also serves as the primary gateway for communication between the White House and the Department of Justice. Traditionally, both the White House Counsel and the Attorney General have issued a memo requiring all contact between the two institutions to occur only between the Office of White House Counsel and the Attorney General or Deputy Attorney General. The next administration should re-examine this policy and determine whether it might be more efficient or more appropriate for communication to occur through additional channels. The White House Counsel also works closely with the DOJ Office of Legal Counsel to seek opinions on, for example, matters of policy development and the constitutionality of presidential power and privileges, and with OLA and the DOJ Office of Legal Policy on presidential judicial nominees. When a new president takes office, he will need to decide expeditiously how to handle any major ongoing litigation or other pending legal matters that might present a challenge to his agenda. To offer guidance, the White House Counsel must get up to speed as quickly as possible on all significant ongoing legal challenges across the executive branch that might affect the new administration's policy agenda and must be prepared at the outset of the administration to present recommendations to the president, including recommendations for reconsidering or reversing positions of the previous administration in any significant litigation. This review will usually require consulting with the new political leadership at the Justice Department, including during the transition period. No day is predictable at the White House. Therefore, to handle the pace and volatility of affairs, the Office of White House Counsel must offer measured legal guidance in a timely manner. This often means foregoing law review-style memos about esoteric legal concepts and instead quickly providing high-level yet incisive guidance. Due to evolving world events, domestic affairs, and political pressures, the office often faces legal questions for which there may not be a wealth of precedent. Attorneys in the Office of White House Counsel must therefore work collaboratively within the White House and the Department of Justice, relying on each other as a team, to ensure that proper legal guidance is delivered to the president. The president should choose a White House counsel who is well-versed in the Constitution, administrative and regulatory law, and the inner workings of Congress and the political process. Instead of choosing a specialist, the president should hire a counsel with extensive experience with a wide range of complex legal subjects. Moreover, while a candidate with elite credentials might seem ideal, the best one will be above all loyal to the president and the Constitution. Staff Secretary. The office of the Staff Secretary is rarely visible to the outside world, but it performs work of tremendous importance. The office is similar to a military commander's adjutant, as it is responsible for fielding and managing a vast amount of information at the top of its organization. This includes information on its way into the Oval Office, as well as information flowing out from the Oval Office. Because of its gatekeeping function, the position of Staff Secretary is one of extreme trust, and the individual who possesses it should be vetted to work as an honest broker in the President's service. The office of the Staff Secretary has been described as the last substantive control point before papers reach the Oval Office. A great deal of information is headed toward the Oval Office at any moment. This includes presidential decision memos, bills passed by Congress, and briefing books, reading materials, samples of constituent mail, personal mail, and drafts of speeches. The Staff Secretary makes certain that these materials are complete, well-ordered, and up to date before they reach the President. This necessarily means that the Staff Secretary plays a key role in determining who weighs in on policy matters and when. As noted above, the staff secretary also handles information leaving the Oval Office. The president may have questions after reviewing incoming material, may wish to seek more information, or may demand revisions. The staff secretary is often responsible for directing these requests to the appropriate places and following up on them to ensure that they are completed. One of the staff secretary's critical functions is managing and overseeing the clearance process for the president's daily nightly briefing book. This book is filled with all the reading material and leading documentation the president needs in the morning and the evening to help him make decisions. The staff secretary also oversees the use of the president's signature, whether by hand or by autopen, and manages the Office of the Executive Clerk, Office of Records Management, and Office of Presidential Correspondence. Office of Communications. The Office of Communications, which operates under the Director of Communications, conveys the President's agenda to the public through various media, including speeches and remarks, press briefings, off-the-record discussions with reporters, and social media. Depending on how a president chooses to structure his White House, the Office of Communications may include the Office of the Press Secretary, but no matter how it is structured, the office must work closely with the press office as well as the president's speechwriters and digital strategists. Operational functions of the Office of Communications include scheduling and running press briefings, interviews, meetings, media appearances, speeches, and a range of other events. The Office of Communications must maintain robust relationships with the White House Press Corps, the White House Correspondents Association,
tough,
regional
guys.
stakeholders, and key interest groups.
I think this might be my last
No legal entitlement
episode
exists
for
for the
this.
provision of permanent space for media on the White House campus, and the next administration
Maybe I
should
should just skip
re-examine
or
the balance
try to
between
find
media
a
demands
more
and space
interesting
constraints on
section.
the White House premises. Leadership within the Office of Communications should include a communications director, a deputy communications director, a deputy director for strategic communications, and a press secretary.
The time has come, my little friends, to locate table of contents. Here, let me open Adobe and find a page number that is got some more juicy content. This is rather yawning. Should we go to let's try to find the most pro-democratic section. I don't like doing typos. Yep, okay, alright, let's upload it. Upload. Doopity-doo. Uh-oh, goofy shit. Oh, shit. Oh, god dang it. Ah, son of a... Oh, fuck, crying out loud. All my cringe porn stuff. Damn it. Wait, is it not? Oh, there we go. There we go. Just waiting for it to upload. So I guess you can see here. All right. Let's see. I want to find the most pro-democracy policy section. radical equality, liberty for all, not just rights, but of authority that the rich and powerful have hated about democracy since no self-direction. The ruling class disdains the idea of self-direction. While this language speaks to the ideals of self-governance and individual liberty, it is embedded in a broader ideological attack on institutions perceived as elitist or leftist. So while rhetorically pro-democracy, its policy implications elsewhere in the document often involve curtailing federal oversight of elections, redefining civil rights enforcement, centralizing prosecutorial discretion in ways many would argue are anti-democratic. Yes, I know. I was trying to save that for later, ChatGPT. Jeez. Let me direct the research, please. I will search for negative impacts a lot in the future. Sounds good. I'll follow your lead. Direct the focus however you like. When you're ready to explore a section or test a claim, I'll support you with deep analysis and receipts. Just point the way. Alright, okay. What is the most pro-democratic chapter in the manual? Oh, oh no, oh no, oh no, this is not good. We have already read the most pro-democratic chapter in this document, guys. Okay, alright, okay, this is very interesting. Oh my god. Hail to the Republican president. This is pro-democracy. Hail. He should have a lot of authority. We should have Republicans throughout the bureaucracy. We should have every election be a catastrophe for every department in government. Let's have that, shall we? There's just no thought to consequences. It's really hard. I don't know. He looks more like Mr. Potato Head than I do. Mr. Potato Head has a pipe. I have an Iron Man vape. It's not Iron Man, but this dude at a bar said, looks like an Iron Man vape. I'm just a nicotine addict who's trying not to smoke cigarettes. Don't care about the coolness. Just don't want all my shit to stink for people. Okay, cool. All right, well, so oh, 21 to 44 in the book. Okay, so we're in the middle of it. Dude, this is a bunch of staff crap. Personnel is policy. Like, This shit started with, yeah, this shit's been going on for a while. I was listening to all the like live radio broadcasts, like let's see, talk radio 1990s compilation. Let's just find a random, yeah, videos. C-SPAN. This is C-SPAN. All right, C-SPAN. Rush Limbaugh. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna torture you. Yeah. Here, I'll turn off that blocker. Shit, I don't know. This shit. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for playing all this shit, but whatever. We'll see what happens. I'm tiny. They can't touch me. Never. Wait, what?
Boom, baby.
It's mad.
I'll tell you the ropes, kid.
Dude.
In fact, has though.
No, that's the whole point of the Unity updates. There is, it's not going. So what we have done to chronicle the healing process and to keep people on the cutting edge of societal evolution, which is what I do. See, if you listen to this show every day, you never need to read another newspaper again, never read another magazine. I do it for you, and you get a bonus. I tell you what to think about this incredibly complicated and controversial issues. So here is our general
what?
There's a holdup in the Bronx, Brooklyn's broken.
And this tradition continues, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god, dude. I used to listen to this guy. I thought this guy was real fucking smart. Everyone I knew thought this guy was a genius. And, you know, in a way, you could say he's kind of smart. Let's see, Newt Gingrich. Oh, man. Alright, so let's see what liberal talk radio look like. This is gonna be funny. Nah, dude, what? Rush Limbaugh, cool. Cool, buddy. Is there any 90s liberal stuff? Rush Limbaugh, the liberal. Just Rush Limbaugh is the only liberal there. See, here were the liberals back then. Fucking Trump, Donald Trump. Okay. Donald Trump. Liberal Donald Trump. Talk radio 1990s. No. I want some like talk radio stuff. There we go. Okay, crew talk. Late night with David Letterman.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest claims to be back and better than ever. If that's true, why is he here?
Hell yeah, dude.
Please welcome to the program the always interesting, dynamic Donald Trump. Donald.
All right. Liberal Donald Trump. Look at that pink ass tie right there, guys. Symbol of masculinity right there.
Donald, welcome to the program. Good
Nice
to see
to be with you, David.
You know, people have interest in you for a couple of reasons.
I can't imagine what that is.
Let's just get right to the stuff that people want to know about. First of all, are you solvent?
Well, I've had a hell of a year. I've had a good year. I had a miserable year last year along with everybody else in the real estate industry. But this year has been, as you know, sort of from reading the New York press, a good year for me. And the politicians killed the real estate industry, and we've done great.
Now, see, I don't know what that means when you say the politicians killed the real
Well, in
estate industry. What does that mean?
1986, they passed a tax change, the 1986 law, which really, you look at what happened with Olympia, New York, and Reichman and everybody else, and it's big trouble.
They lost
1986.
incentives, real estate no longer.
Hold on. All right. Dude, I'm such an idiot, dude. I can't remember any of this crap anymore. President and could I vote yet though? I don't know if I could vote yet. Ronald Reagan. He don't like Ronald Reagan's economic plan. This is our president, the conservative man. Yeah, no. What's the timestamp right now? Holy shit. That's probably clippable. All right, 104. Okay. I don't know what to do. I'll just open a notepad. 1 hour, 4 minutes. Okay, cool. Whatever.
No longer
Boston
became a
Santos.
good place to put your dough?
Exactly, and it's coming back strong now. And we've worked hard over the last 6 months, and I think we have really done a job.
Of course, now here in New York City, people may get a warped perception of how things actually are because the New York Daily News and the New York Post, every day, day in, day out, they take stories like you and other popular kind of stories like that, and they just sort of jam it down everyone's throat.
Well,
Now, were you ever near broke?
I was never near broke. I was having a good time, and it was a good year to get a divorce.
Let's go back. Let's go back. If you don't mind, what did you have to unload?
Well, I didn't unload.
This guy ain't never worried about money in his life.
All right, the shuttle is no longer
Ever.
the Trump shuttle.
I unloaded the wife. I will say. Why did I say that? Tell me, why did I say that?
Yeah.
Although it was a good year to get a divorce.
That ought to cost you a couple extra million right there.
It's been a very expensive save. And but it was a rough year for a lot of people, and I came out really great, and I'm very happy about it. The casinos are doing record business in Atlantic City. We're up, I guess, 75%, and they're just doing record business. And we just got certified on the west
That's
side
a
of
good
Manhattan.
sign. When your casinos are up
Largest development in the
75%, your
world,
country's
actually,
doing
to the
great.
south.
How many acres of land do you own over there?
It's 100 acres of land along the Hudson River behind Lincoln Center, and it's really a spectacular piece of land. And for 75 years, people have tried to get that piece of land zoned, and now we're going to do it.
Gaza
And what are the
next.
things you're gonna
Gaza next,
It's going to
guys.
be residential. It's going to be studios. Maybe NBC would be interested. In fact, we talked to them originally about it, and tremendous parkland and
He's still
waterfront
doing it.
property.
You know
He's
what
still
I'd
real
like to do?
estate agent.
One of those water parks and maybe a go-kart track.
Fuck.
A lot of people would.
Water slides and then like a mile and a half go-kart track and stuff. Be great. Be a lot of fun.
A lot of people would like that.
But again, now I want to come back to this because for the reasons I stated earlier, people are interested, and the New York press kind of magnifies all of this. Were you ever really at a point when you thought, "Man, I'm down, I'm out, it's nearly taps"?
Oh, wait, could y'all see that? Yeah, good. Okay, cool. I think. Yeah, that's right.
City for me.
Well, I was at a low point about a year and a half ago. I was really in deep.
Classy. Cussing on Letterman. Always a
You ain't
classy
you ain't
move.
that rich, Don. You can't come on here and say that.
Dude, my people, my conservative people, were
It's sort of
seething at shit
interesting.
like
My wife is
this.
suing me for $2.5 billion.
What a scumbag. This guy's getting
Day that I had the
divorces.
worst day of my life, about a
What
year
an
and a half ago. I had
amoral
what's called a prenuptial
schlub.
agreement
He
where
hates
if
Ronald
all else
Reagan.
failed, and
He's a
unfortunately,
greedy,
I disagree with,
slimy
divorce and
scumbag.
everything else, but if it happens, it happens. The
We
worst day
hated
of my
this
life.
guy.
Bad Story Times, front page. Bad
Alright,
Story Wall Street
okay.
Journal a year and a half ago.
Commentary. Alright. Shit, alright, let's finish this log, I
This
guess.
leadership team must work together
Let's
closely to
finish
drive the
most
national
democratic
narrative about
section,
the
and
White
I
House.
think I'll probably
The
have to
best
call it.
resource for the Office of Communications is the President. The President conveys the White House's overall message through one or two inaugural addresses, State of the Union addresses, speeches to Congress, and press conferences. The office must also ensure that the various White House offices disseminate a unified message to the public. The communications director and press secretary in particular should be careful to avoid contradicting the president or delivering conflicting information. The speechwriting team is a critical component of the communications team. Speechwriting is a unique talent. The writers selected must understand policy, should have a firm grasp of history and other liberal arts disciplines, and should be able to learn and adopt the president's style of rhetoric and mode of delivery. The press secretary is the president's spokesperson, communicating to the American people through the media. The press secretary engages with the White House press corps formally through press briefings and informally through impromptu gaggles and meetings. Individuals who serve in this role must be quick on their feet, which means, when appropriate, deftly refuting and rebutting correspondents' questions and comments.
Ugh. Caroline Leavitt, that's who we're
The
talking about
communications
here.
director must convey the president's mission to the American people, especially for conservatives. This means navigating the mainstream media to ensure that the president's agenda is conveyed effectively and accurately. The communications director must be politically savvy and very aware of the ongoing activities of the other White House offices. The new administration should examine the nature of the relationship between itself and the White House Correspondents Association.
Very aware of the ongoing activities of other White House offices. Okay. Caroline Leavitt saying she doesn't know. Yeah.
I have two questions. One on a follow-up on something you just said, but since we
It's
have
New
these
York
messages
Post.
released, and you said that the president has
Conservative.
now personally reviewed them, at the chat, at one point, Pete Hegseth wrote 1415 strike drones on target, and in all caps he said, "This is when the first bombs will definitely drop." Does the president feel that he was misled by his national security advisors, whoever it was that told him there was no classified information in there, now that he's seen these messages?
I've now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday.
Okay,
Philip.
and I might follow up on what you had just
No,
said.
go ahead, Philip.
I have a
Caitlin, I'm not taking your follow-up.
The
Philip,
Vice
go
I have
ahead.
a follow-up on something you
Press
just said, though, Caroline. That's
Caitlin,
regarding
I'm not
Jeffrey
taking
Goldsworth.
your follow-up. Philip, go ahead. I have called on you. Thank
The
you.
Vice President seemed to express some frustration that Europe wasn't doing more to police waterways in their backyard, noting in that signal thread that 40%
Hell yeah,
of
dude.
European trade goes through the
Asked
Suez
and
Canal.
answered.
Does the President share that opinion and frustration? And then going forward, should the Europeans be responsible for policing that waterway?
Well, the president was asked this question yesterday by the pool in the cabinet room, and he answered this question. He said yes, he believes that Europe has been, as the vice president put it, freeloading on the backs of American taxpayers and on the off the backs.
Yeah, we're gonna do. That's a pretty smooth way to make a nice clean cut from all the other nations in the world. Is you just want to just fucking give them a slap upside the head, be like, psh, 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 and then give them another one on the old ass on the way out the door. Fuck you. And then things are gonna go well for you if you leave on terms like that. It's gonna be pretty awesome.
And consider whether an alternative coordinating body might be more suitable. Office of Legislative Affairs.
no other way to do
Created by
this.
President Dwight
Gotta be an
Eisenhower,
asshole
the
about
OLA
it,
has continued to serve as the liaison between the White House and Congress. The White House must work with congressional leaders to ensure presidential nominees for roles such as cabinet secretaries and ambassadors are confirmed by the Senate. The White House also relies on Congress to enact reforms promised by the president on the campaign trail, whether those promises relate to healthcare, Educat Ion, or national defense. Because Congress holds the power of the
Educat
purse,
Ion.
White House staffers must ensure that there is enough support on the Hill to secure the necessary funding through the appropriations process to fulfill the president's agenda. The OLA reports directly to the Chief of Staff, and in some administrations has done so under the guidance of a Deputy Chief of Staff, usually the Deputy Chief. For policy, regardless of the person to whom the OLA reports, however, the office exercises a certain autonomy on behalf of the President and the Chief of Staff in directly influencing congressional leaders of both major political parties. The OLA often must function as the mediator among the parties and find common ground to facilitate the successful enactment of the president's agenda. As is the case with many White House offices, the OLA must ensure that congressional leaders receive one unified message. If other actors within the White House maintain their own relationships with congressional leaders and staffers, it may appear that the president's agenda is fractured and lacks consensus. This dynamic has caused real problems for many presidents in the past. Internally, OLA staffers need to be involved in policy discussions, budget reviews, and other important meetings. They must also provide advice to policy staffers regarding whether certain ideas are politically feasible. Externally, OLA staffers have to communicate continuously with congressional offices of both parties in both the House and the Senate to ensure that the president has enough support to enact his legislative priorities or sustain votes.
Oh my God, this is the most patriotic Democratic
The
section.
OLA requires staffers who are effective communicators and can provide a dose of reality to other White House staffers when necessary. Although a policy proposal from within the White House may be a great idea, OLA staffers must ensure that it is politically feasible.
All right, let's save it real quick. Let's go to this jump gate and save
OLA
it real quick,
staffers
and I'm
must
gonna fight
therefore be
those
skilled in
mercenaries.
both politics and policy. Furthermore, the president should seek out individuals who can advance his agenda, and at the same time forge pathways with members of the opposing political party on other priorities. Most important, the OLA must function as a well-oiled machine, precisely synced. The president cannot afford to have a tennis player on, much less as the leader of his football team. Office of Presidential Personnel. The political axiom that personnel is policy was popularized under President Ronald Reagan during the 1981 presidential transition. One of the most important offices in the White House is the PPO, which was created under President Richard Nixon to centralize political appointments. Departments and agencies had and still have direct legal authority on hiring and firing, but the power to fill Schedule C positions, the core of political jobs, is vested with the president. Therefore, the White House, not the department or agency, has the final word on political appointments. PPO's primary responsibility is to staff the executive branch with individuals who are equipped to implement the president's agenda. Although its focus should be identifying and recruiting leaders to fill the approximately appointments that require Senate confirmation, PPO must also fill approximately 0,000 political jobs that require dedicated conservatives to support the administration's political leadership. Frequently, many medium-tier and top-tier jobs have been filled by policy experts tasked with accomplishing much of the work of the administration. At the same time, appointees in the entry-level jobs have brought invaluable energy and commitment to the White House and have proved to be the farm team for the conservative movement.
What is a farm team?
The Office of Presidential Personnel is responsible for identifying potential political
What is a farm team in the White House cabinet? What do you mean farm team? What the hell is that? The farm team for the conservative movement? What? Is this an analogy? Am I stupid here? Alright, you know, I'm probably getting hung up on
personnel, both actively through recruitment and passively by fielding resumes and adjudicating requests from political actors. Vetting potential political personnel by conducting political background checks and reviewing any clearance and fitness assessments by departments and agencies. Making recommendations to the president and to other appointment authorities on behalf of the president. Identifying programmatic political workforce needs early and developing plans. L. Maintaining a strong relationship with the Office of Personnel Management both for operational purposes and to effectuate the President's direct Title V authorities. The President is in charge of the federal workforce and exercises control principally by working through the Director of the Office of Personnel Management. L. Training and connecting political personnel. L. Playing bad cop in a way that other White House offices cannot. L. Serving as a personnel link between conservative organizations and the executive branch. In most administrations, PPO will staff more than 100 positions during a transition, and thousands of non-career positions during the President's first term. Direct authority and a strong relationship with the President are necessary attributes for any PPO director. Historically, PPO has had direct review and control of personnel files, including security clearance dossiers. At the highest level, PPO is tasked with long-term strategic workforce development. The billets of political appointments are of immense importance in credentialing and training future leaders. In addition, whatever one's view of the constitutionality of various civil service rules might be, it is necessary to ensure that departments and agencies have robust cadres of political staff just below senior levels in the event of unexpected vacancies. Office of Political Affairs. The OPA is the primary office within the executive branch for managing the President's political interests. Although its specific functions vary from administration to administration, the OPA typically serves as the liaison between the President and associated political entities, national committees, federal and state campaigns, and interest groups. Within legal guidelines, the OPA engages in outreach, conducts casework, and, if the President is up for re-election, assists with his campaign. The OPA may also monitor congressional campaigns, arrange presidential visits with other political campaigns, and recommend campaign staff to the Office of Presidential Personnel for service in the executive branch. The OPA further serves as a line of communication between the White House and the President's political party. This includes both relaying the President's ambitions to political interests and listening to the needs of political interests. This relationship allows for the exchange of information between the White House and political actors across the country. The OPA should have one Director of Political Affairs who reports either to the Chief of Staff or to a Deputy Chief of Staff. The OPA should also include various deputy directors, each of whom is responsible for a certain geographical region of the country. Because nearly all White House activities are in some way inherently political, the OPA needs to be aware of all presidential actions and activities, including travel, policy decisions, speeches, nominations, and responses to matters of national security, and consider how they might affect the President's image. The OPA must therefore have a designated staffer who communicates not only with other White House offices but also with the Cabinet and executive branch agencies. Office of Cabinet Affairs. The OCA's role has changed to some degree over the course of various administrations, but its overriding function remains the same: to ensure the coordination of policy and communication between the White House and the Cabinet. Most important, the OCA coordinates all cabinet meetings with the President. It should also organize and administer regular meetings of the deputy secretaries because they also typically serve vital roles in the departments and agencies, and further, often become acting secretaries when cabinet members resign.
There might be a bunch of stuff going on.
There should be one cabinet secretary who reports to the Chief of Staff's office, either directly or through a deputy chief, according to the chief's preference and focus.
Auto screwed. Off, on. There we go.
The cabinet secretary maintains a direct relationship with all members of the cabinet. The OCA further consists of deputies and special assistants who work with each department's principal, deputy secretary, undersecretaries, assistant secretaries, and other senior staff. The OCA also connects the departments to WHO offices. The OCA coordinates with the Chief of Staff's office and the Office of Communications to promote the President's agenda through the cabinet departments and agencies. The Cabinet's communication staffers are obviously another critical component of this operation. In prior administrations, the OCA has played a vital role by tracking the President's agenda for the Chief of Staff, deputy chiefs, and senior advisors. It has worked with each department and agency to advance policy priorities. In the future, amplifying this function would truly benefit both the President and the conservative movement. From time to time throughout an administration, travel optics, ethics challenges, and Hatch Act issues involving cabinet members, deputies, and senior staffers can arise. The OCA is normally tasked with keeping the WHO informed of such developments and providing support if and when necessary. The ideal cabinet secretary will have exceptional organizational skills and be a seasoned political operative or attorney.
Yes.
Because many cabinet officials have been former presidential candidates, governors, ambassadors, and members of Congress, the ideal candidate should also possess the ability to interact with and persuade accomplished individuals. Office of Public Liaison. The OPL is critically important in building coalitions and support for the president's agenda across every aligned social, faith-based minority and economic interest group. It is a critical tool for shaping public opinion and keeping myriad supporters, as well as frenemies and opponents alike who are within reach, better informed.
What? This document uses the term frenemies.
The OPL is a notably large office.
Oh my God.
It should have one director who reports to the Chief of Staff's office, either directly or through a deputy, according to the Chief's preference and focus.
Page 42 is the last page.
The director must maintain relationships not only with other WHO heads, but also must maintain relationships.
What's going on here?
The director must maintain relationships not only with other WHO heads, but also with the senior staff of every cabinet department and agency.
8
Since
more
the
pages,
president's
guys.
agenda is always in motion, it is important for the OPL to facilitate listening sessions to receive the views of the various leaders and members of key interest groups. The OPL should also have a sufficient number of deputies and
Yeah, we should've
special
hired one of
assistants
those
to cover the
mercenaries.
vast number of disparate interest groups that are engaged daily. The OPL has by far held more meetings in the Eisenhower
destroyed
Executive
them.
Office building and within the West Wing itself than any other office within the WA. The OPL is the chief White House enforcer and gatekeeper among these various interest groups. It has operated best whenever the Chief of Staff has given it permission to use both the proverbial carrot and the proverbial stick. To make this work, communication with the Chief's office is vital. Additionally, the OPL has had an outsized role in presidential scheduling and both official and political travel. The OPL director should come from the president's election campaign or Capitol Hill, but should not have deeply entrenched connections to a K Street entity or any other potential stakeholder. Some prior relationships can create real or perceived biases toward one group or another. The director should be amiable, gregarious, highly organized, and willing to shoulder criticism and pushback from interest groups and other elements of the administration. Unlike the director, OPL deputies and special assistants need a deep understanding of the Capitol. From K Street to Capitol Hill, they should have extensive experience in private industry, the labor sector, the conservative movement, and among the specific interest groups with which they will be asked to engage on behalf of the White House. OPL staffers work with more external and internal parties than any other HU staffers. In turn, they must be effective communicators and initiative takers. They must also be able to influence, persuade, and, most important, listen to various stakeholders and ensure that they feel heard. All OPL staffers must understand from the outset that their jobs might be modified or even phased out entirely as the administration's priorities change. Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. The IGA connects the White House to state, county, local, and tribal governments. In other words, it is the one-stop shop for disseminating an administration's agenda to all non-federal government entities.
No microchips.
The IGA should have a director to whom one or two deputy directors report. The director must ensure that the White House remains connected to all non-federal government entities.
Scrap metal.
The interests and perspectives of these entities are represented in policy discussions, organized events with the West Wing, EOP senior staff, and IGA staff throughout the departments and agencies. The IGA can be staffed in a variety of ways, but two arrangements are most common. Each deputy and that deputy's staffers are responsible for a type of government. A group of staffers is responsible for a specific geographical region of the country. The IGA, as suggested above, represents the interests and perspectives of federal government entities, but its primary job is to make sure that these entities understand an administration's agenda and ultimately support it. The IGA must work with all other White House offices, especially the OPA and the OPL, and manage its staff throughout the departments and agencies. IGA staffers must therefore have communication skills, understand political nuance, and be willing to engage in complex policy discussions.
Awesome.
They should also be not just generally responsive, but also proactive in seeking out the interests and perspectives of non-federal government entities.
Hey, this part sounds pretty awesome.
White House Policy Councils. As the federal government has ballooned in size over the past century, it has become increasingly difficult for the president alone to direct his agenda across the executive branch. 3 White House Policy Councils have come into existence to help the president to control the bureaucracy and ensure continued alignment between agency leadership and White House priorities. Those councils, as previewed above, are the NSC, NEC, and DPC. Each is headed by an assistant to the president and performs 3 significant functions. L. Policy coordination. The primary role of the policy councils is to coordinate the development of administration policy. This frequently includes developing significant legislative priorities, coordinating policy decisions that impact multiple departments and agencies, and at times coordinating policy decisions within a single department or agency. This process must ensure that all relevant offices are included, that competing or conflicting opinions are thoroughly discussed and evaluated, and when there is disagreement among White House senior staff or among cabinet members, a well-structured question is presented to the president for an intermediate or final decision. L. Policy advice. By virtue of working in the White House, the heads of the 3 policy councils will also function as independent policy advisors to the president. This aspect of the role will vary depending on the individual in this position and the president's governing philosophy. Incumbents have ranged from honest brokers who mostly coordinate and ensure that all opinions are fairly presented to the president, to policy deciders who largely drive a given policy topic on behalf of the president. L. Policy implementation. The policy councils also manage and mediate the implementation of previous policy decisions. Implementation of a new statute or an executive order frequently takes years and involves many distinct and more granular policy decisions along the way. It is essential to have a centralized process for evaluating and coordinating these decisions, especially if they involve more than one cabinet department or agency with differing opinions on the best approach for securing the president's goals. The above functions have recently been...
Oh my god, 5 more pages. Alright, time to skim, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna skim this. Whew. Policy coordinating committee. Okay, this is just structural stuff, I think. Deputies committee, yep, principals committee. There's not a whole lot of sneaky shit snuck into here. This is like,
The NEC was established in 1993 by executive order and has 4 key functions. 2. Coordinate the economic policy-making process with respect to domestic and international economic issues. L2. Coordinate economic policy advice to the President. L. To ensure that policy decisions and programs are consistent with the President's stated goals and that those goals are being effectively pursued. L. To monitor implementation of the President's economic policy agenda. The NEC Director coordinates and implements the President's economic policy objectives by working with Cabinet Secretaries, their departments, and multiple agencies. The Director is supported by a...
The director is supported by a staff of policy experts in various fields, including infrastructure, manufacturing, research and development, agriculture, small business, financial regulation, housing, technology and innovation, and fiscal policy. Okay, this is NEC stuff. So what's the... Okay, the Office of the Vice President. This is just saying what all the jobs are supposed to do. Seems kind of like an appendix. Executive Office. Chapter 2, guys. The Executive Office. Very important shit. Alright, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it there. Holy crap. So, a lot of very uninteresting stuff in there, but at the beginning there, it was really loaded with a lot of ideological stuff. A lot of buzzwords, a lot of signals to let you know that you should be pumped up and excited and pissed off and ready to attack the evil other people. Not 100% sure you won't find similar stuff in DNC materials. You know, two-party system has been really good for discourse because you know got the AFC and the NFC. I think that's what they're still called. Yeah, it's sports. It's political sports. Got team stuff, all that good terrible crap. Anyway, but yeah. So that's chapter 1. I'll have to really consider whether if I want to do something similar next time. I think what I'll probably wind up doing is maybe watching some of the training videos released by ProPublica, and not trying to game with it. But I'm gonna hop on to Mercado Media. Don't think anybody is currently watching right now. Appreciate the like there. I'm going to. Let's see, put a link to this guy, and yep, he's essentially another liberal, so, but he's also a veteran. So veteran liberals exist. This guy was pretty red meat, just like I was, and he ain't online right now, but crying out loud. Fuck crying out loud, guys. Alright, well. Alright, I want to put y'all into an absolutely chill music live stream. Dark Dungeon Fantasy Explorer. This is about a heroic penguin. Good stuff. So it's like an RPG. You kind of say what you want to do in the chat. There's also some chill music, and it's pretty neat. And y'all have an excellent night. Thank you. Hey, if you got any objections to stuff I'm saying, feel free to leave comments. It's cool. It's cool. Like, try to make them substantive. I'd appreciate that. Thanks. All right. Cuckoo and. All right. Great. Okay. Y'all have a good